Hello guys, welcome to our tutorials channel. This is Ricardo Palacios, and today I'm going to show you how to code a login module that looks professional and modern. So in the screen you can see your outcome once you finish this short tutorial, but let me tell you that more than showing you how to build a login module, we want to show you the basics of WPF coding. We want you to understand each one of the lines we are going to write, and above all, we want to make it very easy for you to start coding. Believe me guys, once you understand each of the lines you are writing, coding becomes super easy. Well, let's start with the project. And when we work with WPF, it becomes necessary to sketch our window before start working, because we need to arrange our working space in a grid. That means rows and columns. For that, we need to foresee all the elements taking part of our window. If you can draw a realistic sketch, do it using, for example, vector graphics. But if not, at least draw one in your iPad or in paper such as this one. Well, let's think about this grid and illustrate what I'm saying. Let's start by the rows. We will need one row for the classing button, the next one for the logo and the name of our app, the next one for the user field, the next one for the password field, and the next one for the two buttons at the bottom of our window. We don't really need more than one column, but for you to understand better the way this grid works, let's add two columns at the sides as two margins, like this. So now let's keep in mind this sketch with the 5 rows we have and the 3 columns, and let's start coding. Okay, let's open Visual Studio and create a WPF app. We can just search it. You see WPF app.NET Core, and we will call it login 2 in my case. I'm sorry, I already have an app called login, so anyways, it shouldn't be a problem. We create it. So it's created, and first thing we're gonna do is we're going to work in vertical mode. Okay, it's better like this, and we are going to start by modifying this height of our window. We're gonna use a height of 500 and 400 for our width, for us to have something like in the sketch, right? It's much more like in the sketch. And you see we have here a grid, so we are going to define our rows and our columns. Let's start by the rows. So we write grid dot row definitions. We close it. In order to have a block, inside our block we're going to write row definition, and we are going to assign a height of value 1 star. Then we self-close this. So this line means we have one row with a height of 1 star. Then we copy it 4 times in order to have 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're done with the rows, and we are going to write grid column definitions, and we are going to build a new block, and inside we're going to write column definition this time, and width, the value will be 1 star again, and we are going to close it. And right now we're defining one of our columns. We have 3, so we copy it. Now we have our new grid with 5 rows and 3 columns. So as you can see, we have 5 equal rows and 3 equal columns. All dimensions of width and height are 1 star. It means they are not absolute dimensions, but relative ones. It means that each of them is a proportion of the total width, which is 400, and the total height, which is 500. So if we change the width value of the central column for the one of 6, here we will see that it becomes 6 times larger than the ones on each side, and its absolute dimension is 300 pixels. That is our total width, 400 multiplied by 6 and divided by 8, because 6 plus 1 is 8. Given that the lateral columns are 50 pixels wide. But remember that as we are using those stars, if our window gets resized, this proportion will be kept. So let's now assign the values of 0.45 for the first row to 0.7, 0.7 and 1 with the stars, all of them, and now our layout looks pretty much as the one of the sketch. So now we're going to disable the window style here in the upper part. We write window style, we select the none option. This is for removing the title bar, you know, the bar with the minimize and close buttons in the upper part of our window, because we want a fully customized window. But in case you need that bar, just change the none value for the one of single border window instead. So we want our window to appear at the center of the screen. We're gonna write Windows Startup Location Center Screen. We don't want the user to change, in this case, the size, so we will write resize mode, no resize. I guess you now know how to enable resizing in case you need it. I mean, it's very intuitive. And finally, we will add transparency with allow transparency, true. And the background, we are going to set it as transparent. Transparent because this will allow us to add round corners to our little window without having horrible white sharp corners coming out from the background. So now we are ready to start the customization of our window. Let's begin with the gradient background I showed you before in the finished project. That is this background that comes from orange to green or to blue. For that, we are going to draw a border and then paint its background. We're typing here border, and I'm going to close it for building a new block. And here we're going to write grid dot row span, and the value is 5. Then we're going to write grid dot column span, the value is going to be 3, and corner radius with value of 15. So you guessed it, right? We are declaring that our border will be placed surrounding 5 rows and 3 columns. That is all the area of the grid we define. And as I said before, it will include round corners. So for the background, we are going to write inside our border block border dot background. We close it. Inside we're going to write linear gradient brush. Close it. Inside gradient stop. Color. Just select any with an offset of 0.0 and we close this. Then we are going to copy this whole line, and then we can just change these values of colors. I will write a very specific one, which is an orange color. The one I showed you before at the beginning of the video is this one. And here we're going to write our blue, which is the hex code of our colors. 89. So here we're gonna change the offset value of the second color, and we have it. we have it here. So this is our background. Then we're going to start by creating a button, which is going to be located at the row 0 and column 2. So we write button, close, and then we're going to write here grid dot row 0 and grid dot column 2. So there it is. Let's make it transparent with background transparent. Then the foreground's gonna be white and the height's gonna be 25 and the width also 25, and that's it. So now we're going to draw it a border with a thickness of 1.5 and we're going to round it, so we write button dot resources and we close it. Then we're going to write style, target type, border, and we close it. And then we write center, property, corner radius, value, and let's assign it 25. We soft close this, and that's it. So it's rounded now. And finally, just to keep it very simple, we are going to add the character X here as the content of our button, a capital letter X. I mean, I know that we can use a predefined icon, but it is up to you. For now, let's keep it super simple with that X. And the border brush, it's gonna be white. So now let's make our button react each time the cursor is over it. So in the style we define, we are going to write the following line: style dot triggers. We close it, and inside we write trigger. We're gonna close it, and here we're gonna select the property which is gonna be our trigger, and it's gonna be is mouse over. The value is gonna be true, and after that we're gonna write setter property button.background. No, not background, but button.background. Value, which is going to be white. We are going to self-close this, and then we're going to write again setter property button dot opacity, then value, and let's assign it 0.6, and we close this like this. Then we're gonna add one more. So here we're gonna write setter again. Let's self-close it, and then let's write property button dot foreground, and then again value, and let's write a very specific value I have here, 004557 with bounds. Remember, this is the hex value, and yeah. So let's run it just for you to see what's happening with our button. So what we did is that we defined the behavior of this button each time the mouse is over it. So you can see that when the mouse is over it, its background, its opacity, and its foreground are changing. So you see it? Let's close it right now. Well, now we will have a couple of elements stuck in the next row. They are the logo and the app's name. So for that reason, we are going to create a stack panel. So let's create, no, here below our button. So let's write stack panel, and that's it. It's created, and you already know how to assign it a position on the grid. So we're going to write grid row 1 and grid dot column 1. Its vertical alignment is going to be centered, and all the things we put inside this panel will be automatically stacked vertically, one above another. We will add now an image inside the panel. For that, we're going to write image. We're going to close. And here we're going to write source. And we're going to, here in the properties, we're going to select it. This is going to be our logo. And for it not to be pixeled, well, before that, let's going to assign a proper size with the width property, and let's assign it 120. And then for it not to be pixeled, we're going to write render options bitmap scaling mode, and we're going to choose high quality. We will add now a text block right below our image. So we're going to write text block, and we're going to close, and here we're going to write text, which is going to be GBaltic, then font size, let's write before the text alignment, and it's going to be center. The font size was going to be 25. Font family is going to be Calibri, but remember that you can add any font you have installed on your computer. If you have awesome fonts installed, you can play with them. The foreground is gonna be white. And that's it. We have our logo and name. So let's move to the next row, the one of the username. If you remember from the sketch, we're considering to use an icon followed up by the text username. And let's use it as a header that will be shown above a text box for the user to write on it. So we will have three elements: the icon and the text block which says username, and the text box for the user to write on it. Two of them are stacked horizontally above the third one. So let's create now a couple of stack panels below our last stack panel, because we're going to nest them here. This one's the first, and inside we're gonna create another one. That's it. The main of our stack panels is going to have the position. So let's write grid dot row, and it's the second one. I mean, it's the third one, so it's number 2. Grid dot column number 1. Vertical alignment, it's gonna be center. Then the first element inside it is gonna be the nested stack panel, as we said. That doesn't need a specific position, but needs something else. So the orientation is gonna be horizontal, which means that the elements will be stacked horizontally, as I said before. Vertical orientation is default, so we need to specify this. This time we need an horizontal orientation. For the other one, we don't need that. So we're gonna add an image right now. But I'm going to copy the one we have here, and I'm also going to copy this text block right inside our nested panel. Oops, something happened. Yeah, here. So let's change this source for the proper one. Which is this one. We need to change this width for the height instead, and it's gonna be 11. Then in the text block, let's write username, and then let's add here font weight light. Then the size will be 15, font size, I mean. And then let's assign it a margin in order to separate it from the image. A margin like this. So with the margin property, you can relocate any element, let's say the logo. If you want it to be slightly upwards, for example, as you can see, there are 4 values, 4 zeros. In this case, they are left, upper, right, and lower margins respectively. So we write 10 on the left margin field, and as you can see, they are now separated. We'll leave now our nested stack panel, but still inside our main one, let's say here, no, here, just right below the nested one, we're going to add a text box. Like that, and as you can see, it is as wide as the column. In fact, I assigned that width to the column for this to happen. So now we write height, which is going to be 30, width, which is going to be 300, but I mean it's still the same as the column width. Foreground, which is going to be a very specific color. It's a gray one. I will copy it from my other screen. Yeah, this one. And the border brush, which is gonna be transparent. The font family, which is gonna be again Calibri. Font size, which is gonna be 18. The vertical alignment, which is gonna be center. The vertical content alignment, which is gonna be center also. And then, in order to add transparency only to the background of the text box and not to the text itself, we will add this here inside our text box block. Text box dot background, close it, and we will add inside solid color brush, color, which is gonna be white, and then opacity, which is gonna be 0.2. We close this. Now let's just copy this, I mean the whole main stack panel. And right below the one we have, we're gonna paste it. Then we're going to change our image source and the row of the grid, of course, which is gonna be the next one. And then we have to change this text box for a password box, as well as this background. It's gonna be password box. And finally, for buttons, we're going to create a new stack panel below this one. And its position is going to be in grid.row 4, then grid.color column 1, and then our buttons will gonna be horizontally stacked, so orientation is gonna be horizontal. Well, now inside we're gonna copy the button we designed here. Side. We delete all information related to button positioning, this one. Then let's assign them a height of 40 and a width of 100. And the content will be a login. The new roundness is gonna be 20. Let's add a font size of 14. And that's it. Then we copy this for a new button right below. And we have our two buttons. Instead of login, this one must say register. That's it. And again, we're going to add a margin. Of 70. Finally, we're gonna center the elements. Here in the stack panel, we're gonna add horizontal alignment center. And yes, we need to change this username for the text password. So I think right now we're done. Well, now let's add some functionality to this button. We select it and then we go here in the properties to the little lightning to see the events, and on the click event we're gonna double click the text box, and here we're gonna write this dot close, and that's it. So now we can just run our program. So there it is. You can see all the buttons have this functionality. So that's it for today. In the next tutorial, you will learn to connect this with a very simple database for it to open your app or to deny access to it instead. So we hope you liked it. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, to subscribe to our channel, and to leave us your comments and suggestions. See you next time. Bye.